I read this somewhere on Facebook. True healing is done alone. And I read it and I was like, damn, that's some good shit. True healing, deep healing, true deep healing is done alone and only alone. In fact, it's not really possible for the deepest of healing to happen anywhere, anyhow, but alone. Because as the being that you are with this mind, you are with this body 24/7. So when a healer comes along and guides you to something or other, like think of Wim Hof as a healer, for example. He's got the Wim Hof method. It's he's taken it to science. He's shown its potential, etc. So he's a healer and he's got a great method, and people use it to heal certain ailments. And you can go to a retreat, you can do something with Wim Hof, and it will be powerful, as everyone says it is, because he's very charismatic and high vibrational being, etc. So of course you're gonna be under that spell, and that's gonna push you to do more and be more. But at the end of the day, you go do the retreat, any retreat. I'm just using the Wim Hof method here, the Wim Hof retreats, as an example. You go there for what, a week at the most? And then what happens after? You go back to your daily life. You go back to being with yourself. You're always with yourself, your mind-body complex 24/7. Your spirit is in the presence of this particular mind-body complex, the lens in which you perceive reality, 24/7. So this is why the percentage for the success, or let's say for this is from Ray Moore anyway, one of the Breatharian teachers and initiators. He says that the percentage of people who actually go on to lead a Breatharian lifestyle after the retreats is 10%, 20% if that's like a super good success rate, because you go there, you're pushed by the group dynamic. There is power in numbers. This is why the home advantage in sports is so critical. And you're there for what, a week, 2 weeks? I think the Ray Moore's initiation process is 10 days. You're there for 10 days. You're with other people. You're seeing them do it. But at the end of the day, you've got to go back to yourself. You're with yourself 24/7. And any consistent and long-term healing, which is the truest, which is the deepest, truth equals depth. The truest, the deepest healing is gonna happen when you're alone. Otherwise, it's kind of like taking a psychedelic. All these going to these retreats but not actually applying it to your life is kind of like taking a psychedelic and you're pushed into the Godhead. But if you don't get your journal right after the trip, as the trip's coming down, and the subsequent days, if you don't get your journal and you say, well, that was an interesting experience. This and that happened. Okay, I'm going to do this from now on. I'm going to get up in the morning, 1 hour meditation. I'm going to do laughter meditation because I was laughing so hard during the trip. If you don't actually sit down alone and contemplate and reflect on the psychedelic trip, it's just a memory after that. And so all these retreats and all these things and all these group dynamic healing modalities, which are very useful, very helpful, much like a psychedelic is very useful, very helpful, becomes just and not so relevant and not so influential experience if the inner work is not drawn upon from that experience in a group dynamic, because you're not gonna depend on the group. I mean, what are you gonna go and live with Wim Hof? You're gonna go live with some healer all your life? That's dependency. You're creating a dependent relationship. Whereas I really like Wim Hof. Wim Hof is one of my favorite people in the world, because one of the things he says is always, "You are the motherfucking guru." That's one of the sayings he keeps repeating. "You're the motherfucking guru. I'm not your guru. You're the motherfucking guru." And he's really good at teaching people that. He's really good at teaching people that they've got to do it on their own, because he's done it on his own. I mean, his story is that he's gone into nature. His wife committed suicide, and he spent even though he had children, he would go just for days in the wilderness and just spend it in solitude. And he says, Mother Nature taught me the methods, taught me the cold, the force of the cold, etc. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep in mind that if you're going to do any long-term healing, any true deep healing on yourself, that you're gonna have to do it alone. And somebody will be like, no, but come on, man, like, human beings are social. We're human beings right now. We're playing this role. Like, it's okay to get help. Of course it's okay to get help. Of course. Right, of course. I mean, you've got to. I sought help from the psychedelics for 4 years. You may seek it in the form of a teacher, in the form of a guru, in the form of this, of course. But at the end of the day, you're gonna do it on your own. You're gonna have to do it alone, because you're with you 24/7. Nobody got time to be with you 24/7. They gotta be with themselves 24/7. So it's all just forms of guidance. And I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record, right? But it's true. Jesus was like a broken record too. He spoke of solitude a lot. So did the Buddha, right? Because it's where true healing occurs. It's where true self-healing and self-transformation occurs. And it can't really occur any other way. Because what happens is you say, well, okay, I'm gonna go live in a community, or I'm gonna go live in, I'm gonna go hang out great people. And you just, what happens in that process is you start off and you learn so much, and it's valuable and it's wonderful, and then before you know it, you begin to create a dependency relationship. You begin to be dependent. You give power to somebody that doesn't even want it. You think healers, the ones that are aware of this, you think they want to be given the power over you? Clearly Wim Hof doesn't want that. Somebody like Wim Hof, I really think Wim Hof is really a powerful leader and a healer to look up to. You see, because a lot of healers are under the impression that they're the ones doing the healing, as opposed to they're the ones channeling the healing, and then the ones simply guiding, not being the healers. Like if you say I healed you, you're pretty deluded. That's quite a deluded statement, actually. That's a deluded statement to say I healed you, or I'm healing you, or it's quite deluded, actually. That's delusion. You're passing on certain energy, and you're simply guiding others into being able to be conduits themselves of that energy. You see? And that's, to me, the difference between a healer that knows and a healer that doesn't know. A healer that's aware of their of the way things are, and a healer that isn't not yet aware of the way things are, which is there's this healing energy. It's available to all of us, and we just pass it through. So it's no wonder Jesus goes to the desert, doesn't eat, doesn't drink for 40 days and 40 nights. It's no secret Buddha goes to the jungle, does the same thing, hangs under a tree. It's no secret Muhammad goes into the cave. It's no surprise. It's no surprise, because these beings, they know, they understand that true healing and true self-transformation is only going to take place in solitude. Now, even if you're married, even if you have kids, you wanna definitely have your alone time, and you wanna allow your significant other the same not privilege. I guess, is it a privilege, or is the way things are? It's kind of like almost universally, every time I did a psychedelic trip with a friend, just naturally, like after about an hour or two of it kicking in, naturally, it's just like a mutual, all right, gotta go do your alone time. I'm gonna do my alone time now. You see, it's like it really has to be that way. It's just the way it is. Otherwise, there's always going to be diluted. The true essence, the authenticity of the being that you are is always going to be diluted. There's a dilution process going on there. It's not pure. And your opinion is always your experience of reality is always being influenced by another being's experience of reality. And so I was talking to my brother yesterday, and he's really getting into mentorship lately and stuff. And I'm happy for him. He seems happier and he seems stronger and grounded in the moment. And he seems to be finally embracing that solitude. And he told me, I heard this guy say, true success is being genuinely happy on your own, with yourself, in the moment, in silence. Right? All the greats told us this. They all told us this over and over and over and over, and it starts to sound like a broken record, but it is needed, because the illusion, the societal brainwashing and conditioning is very powerful. The attachment to social opinions and social norms and behaviors is so unbelievably powerful that assholes like myself have to repeat this message over and over and over and over and over. Do not be afraid of solitude. Embrace it. It is your salvation. It absolutely is your salvation. How many times I gotta say this? I'll say it over and over. It is your salvation. It is where true healing occurs. Some people, for example, they'll go to a fasting clinic because fasting, well, absolutely, you dry fast long enough, you'll heal AIDS, and you water fast long enough, you'll do the same. You'll practically heal anything with fasting, abstinence from food, and possibly drink also. And so a lot of people, because it's a process, right? It's a process. They'll go to fasting clinics, and they'll go and they'll fast for 30 days, 40 days on water, and they'll heal everything, because they're supported by the community and everything. Then they'll go back home, they'll go back to their jobs, they'll go back to the stress, and before you know it, they relapse back into old habits. Because though they received the healing through a group dynamic in a form of a fasting clinic, and I'm not putting down any of these things, they're wonderful, as long as both the practitioner, the conduit of the healing, whether they have a fasting clinic or they do Reiki or whatever, and the participant are both aware that they're both channels, that they both actually just have access to the same energy, and that the true deepest healing will occur in the solitude of both the practitioner and the participant. You see? So as long as that awareness is there, these things are absolutely wonderful. I'm not putting any of these things down at all. I'm all in. That's all power, man. We need more of these fasting clinics, honestly. We need more healers on the planet, period. So I'm all in for that. I'm just saying, be aware of the pitfalls that come along with it. And yeah, so a lot of times, I'm pretty sure it's high percentage, kind of like that pranic initiation where you only have 10% of the people actually carrying out a pranic lifestyle after. I'm pretty sure same thing with the fasting clinics. I'm pretty sure 80 to 90% of the people that go there and heal their ailments, etc., when they go back to their lives, their stressful jobs, their stressful lives, I'm pretty sure 80 to 90% will go back to old habits and possibly indulge in the same behaviors, and possibly even have some of the symptoms and the diseases return again. It's just this human behavior, right? Because they haven't yet embraced the solitude. They're not able to face their own thoughts. They might have been able to do it in a community setting, in a fasting clinic. Well, here it is. You're in paradise. Everything is geared towards your rest, your healing, and you're supported by community. Then you go back home and you're like, man, I don't have that support anymore. And then you fall back into old habits, old stressful behaviors, etc. You did, because you haven't spent enough time in solitude, embraced silence, embraced your thoughts, faced them, dealt with them. So you haven't been able to change your job as a result and do new things that are more in alignment and harmony with your being. So because you haven't done that, you went for the fixes, the quick fixes. I'll go in a community setting, I'll go in a with people, support of numbers, right? Which is powerful, very powerful. And I'll do it. I'll go for broke here. I'll make the jump. I'll take that leap. And you do it. And man, it's you get all these things, but you haven't yet went deep. Truth equals depth. Deep and said, well, okay, what was actually why did I initially indulge in these behaviors that caused me all these diseases and all these traumas and right? You haven't dealt with the cause. You haven't dealt with the cause because you haven't spent enough time in solitude, in which is where true healing occurs. And therefore, these old habits, are bound to return. Hence, that 10% success rate in that chronic initiation process. Only 10% ended up going on the Breatharian path. Because you got to go back to your life after. But of course, these things are useful. You're not going to go back exactly the same. It's almost like, all these things, they plant the seed. All these events and the retreats and the healing processes and stuff like that, they plant the seed. So they're positive, okay? At the end of the day, they're very positive, and I'm 100% supportive of any healing modality and any healing retreat, even if it's full of pretentious hippies and all that. That's all planting the seeds. Anyway, it's all planting the seeds. So I salute 100%, okay? It's like, great, wonderful. The planet goddamn needs it. Oh, it's in dire need of some healing. Everybody's traumatized. Human beings are a lot more traumatized and lost than I ever gave them credit, as I continue to learn from my traveling. Everybody seems lost and traumatized. It is a planet of suffering, and the suffering is deep on this realm. So healing is wonderful. Communities are wonderful things, and just you have to keep in mind, as both the practitioner of the healing craft and the participant in these events, in this healing modality, in this and that true healing will, the deepest form of healing, the truest and the deepest form of healing will happen in solitude, and only in solitude. Only in solitude. Okay? So embrace that, embrace the solitude, because you're an all one being, you're an alone being. That's the truth of the matter. Face that, embrace it, sit with it, and end your suffering. Thank you to the Patreons for your support. If you would like to support us with a couple of bucks a month, you got maybe $2 a month to spare to this community. You can do so down below in the comments. Love you guys, and you can follow on Instagram, message if you have anything you want to talk about, and it's just my name on Instagram. And until next time, may the force be with you.